Erica.
Hi there, Tara. How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us in Live Brighter with Tara. And I look forward to having this interview with you and you sharing your story.
Yes, I'm excited.
Okay, let's just start with a little bit about yourself, like where you work, how many kids you have, a little bit about your family background.
Yeah, so I have three kids, two boys, one girl. I have pets, which I love as well, just like
Just
kids.
say because we can see your pet in the background. It's not just a pet, so you got to explain what type of pet you have.
Oh, yeah, I love exotic cats or anything. Yeah, so I have Bengals and then Savannah, and they are just, gosh, they're my passion in life. Um, yeah, you'll probably see him.
Yes, I
He's
can.
Teddy. He's like, what? So yeah, pets. And where I work at Macy's right now, but my ultimate goal is to be a spiritual life coach to help others heal themselves, or if they need to get out back on track with their life, to help them.
Wonderful. And that really goes into kind of your background too and what you've experienced. So,
Yeah,
okay, what are the ages of your children? Just to give a little more context to everyone.
yeah. So Lexus is 17, Tayson is 15, and Kane is 7.
Okay, wonderful. So,
Yeah.
just a little context, Erica and I met actually, gosh, I don't even know how long ago. And I met Erica's ex-husband first in real estate and then got to know Erica and we became very, very good friends. And it was just a God thing how everything happened and how we were just such good friends. So now we're going to get right into your story, Erica. So you've definitely had some domestic abuse challenges. So why don't you tell them a little bit about your story?
Gosh, I want to say, like, the first thing is that, like, everything seemed great at first. Like, it never is right away. It's always a slow process of the abuse or emotional abuse, because it wasn't really physical, it was more emotional and mental, like, not good for the mind. Um, and so it happened very slowly. We got married, and I would say it really kicked in after we had our son Kane, who's 7 now. He became very, I don't even know why it all happened, but it's like something clicked in his mind and he got very possessive over Kane, and I wasn't doing anything right. And we actually had an altercation a couple of times right after I had Kane. And it just, gosh, that was when it really kind of started. And then he went away for work. And then I wanted to live in Montana, and he wasn't really sure if he wanted to. And, but I kind of pushed it. And so we sold our house in Fargo, and then we moved here. And that's when I started to see everything what was going on with him. And that's when it really kicked into gear with the drugs and I mean, it was wild. Like, nothing I've ever experienced before. Did
Because
you
it
want
was
to?
almost like a light switch, like, and then all of a sudden, just a huge transition with how he talked to you, the altercations, the conflict, and just how he would yell at you. Very, and it ended up spiraling big time.
Yes, it was very, oh my God. I mean, the cops were involved in our life. And as soon as me and the kids moved to Bozeman, he was drinking, I noticed, like, quite a bit. And I had a feeling maybe he was dipping into drugs. Um, but even the name calling, like, he would name call me like I mean, do you care if I
I
say?
actually want you to because it gives context,
Yes.
as far as like what it was like for you.
Yes, like, very degrading, that I was a whore. I was a skate. I mean, I was not, I was old looking. I didn't look good for him. Like, and he would get in my face and like, he was so upset. He would literally be screaming in my face to where spit was coming out of his mouth. I mean, it was like a listening to a demon almost. That's the best way I can explain it, because I don't even understand how he could be this really nice guy and like would do anything for, or he portrayed that he would do anything for us. And he was actually really good to the kids. It was all between me and him. But he would do all this in front of the kids too. So I mean, it's kind of like this battle of um was he, because I mean, the older two kind of remember it, and they knew it wasn't right, and they were scared at the time because he was out of control and yelling, and yeah, I mean, the name calling was absurd. That was like the worst thing, and he'd call me a dog and go sit in the corner like a dog, and it was just, it's hard to even comprehend how he, that's what's going through his mind, obviously, because usually it comes out in one way or another, right? So, yeah. So then we got
it climaxed. So
well,
then it climaxed to an incident. So tell him about that incident.
yeah. So then he got into the drugs very deep, and I filed for divorce, and that's when he really started. I mean, it was off the rocker craziness. He tried to commit suicide, but he wasn't successful with it.
And he actually shot himself, right, with the suicide. Like he actually shot himself and he missed his heart. Like, just to put this in context.
Yes. And then he tried it again, like a month later after he failed the first time. And so, yeah, he tried it again. And I put a restraining order on him because he was very, very dangerous. Like, our safety was at play at this point, especially when he had nothing to live for anymore. And he made that very clear because he lost everything. And so the thing is, so gosh, sure, I almost have to remember how this all went when he showed up at the house. So after about 6 months of back and forth between me and him, he was officially out of the house because he couldn't be around me and the kids because he was just out of his mind. And he got into the drugs very deep. He told me how deep he was into it. And he had went down to Vegas, and he pretty much lost his mind down there. I don't even know what happened down there. I don't really know what was all going on besides nothing good. It was all drug related. And he had called me about over 120 times, and he said he was he was making a lot of threats to me that he was going to show up at the house if I didn't answer. And during this time, he was attacking Tara, and he was attacking people. He was making up stuff in his mind that I was dating some other people, that Tara was trying to hook me up, and which wasn't true.
Yeah, so he actually shot one of my real estate signs, and I was getting these weird harassing things, and we didn't know it was Josh at the time. It was just so bizarre. And then one night he like called me, and probably called me 100 times, and got onto my Facebook and started calling my friends on Facebook and clients that he thought that I'd set her up with, which was completely made up. There was none of that going on. I had to get a restraining order as well, because I was not even living at my house. It got so dangerous where Eric and I actually, it was summertime, and we actually lived in a friend's camper for a little bit because it seems very, very dangerous at that time. And then there was the last evening, which was like a total miracle that it ended up the way it did, because it could have ended very differently.
Yeah, so we were staying at her friend's camper, and I decided to go home with the kids that night because we didn't really hear from him. Well, as soon as I got home, he had sent me an email saying, like, your friend just put a restraining order on me. I just got served papers. Like, I'm coming out to take, this isn't good, Erica. And I'm coming out to take care of things. And then he had presented a photo to me through the email, which I didn't really know what it was at the time because there was like a remote and something next to it. And after this all happened, the cop determined that it was like a barrel of a gun. But he situated it so I couldn't really tell what it was, but the cop knew what it was. So he showed up at the house and he was out of his mind. He was screaming, making a scene in our neighborhood. And we lived in a very nice neighborhood, very quiet, very nice. And he was screaming on the top of his lungs. And good thing the cops were all, because I had called the cops that he was on his way out. And they were all waiting for him at the house when he showed up. And good thing they were, because one of the cops was on the side of the house because they knew he was going to break a window. Sorry, the kitties. He was going to break a window, and we had doors we had a door. Our door had windows in it as well. So they weren't sure what he was going to do, but he was full of rage. And so he was about ready. When he approached the door, the cop said he was about ready to like bust in the door or break a window. And the cop like came around the corner and said, Josh. And that's when he lost it. He was just out of control, screaming. And they couldn't really get him to calm down. And like 20 minutes of talking him down. And then the whole time, he wanted to talk to me. He wanted to see me. And the cops were like, you can't be here. You can't see her. She doesn't want to see you. And he wouldn't take no for an answer. And all along, while my kids could hear him outside. So it was very traumatic for them because they didn't know what was going on with Dad and why he was acting like this. And so by the end of the night, they finally got him to calm down. But I mean, he was crying. He was on the ground. He was up. He was screaming. Then he would be calmed down. Finally, they got his friend to come because he said he wanted to go home. But he said he would be back around 4 a.m. to take care of things. So the time him and his friend left, his friend came there, picked him up. They left. The cop was like, you cannot be here. He will be back. Like, he made it very clear he's going to be back at any time, but maybe around 4 a.m. And they're like, you have to leave this house because we know his intentions. They're not good. Like, he has nothing to live for right now. And so, yeah, I had my friend come out and she helped me kind of pack up the kids, pack up the cats, and we left, which was, this was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And it was this when you're in that state of mind, it's like a fight or flight mode. Like, you just know you have to get out of there because he's going to do something that's out of your control because he was like in a mania, I would say. And the whole time that so me and the kids got to my friend's house and we stayed there. Gosh, I don't even remember, maybe like 3 or 4 days. Was it, Tara? I feel like. And then he was emailing me the entire time, and because I had him blocked on my phone, but he was telling me what he was going to do. And he told me he was, gosh, I can't even recall everything that he was saying, but he had showed up at the house on Monday. So this incident was Saturday. So he shows up on the house on Monday and he's telling me he's going to, blow his brains out. And he wanted me and him, because he was like, where are you? Are you at the house? So he's tricking me that he wanted to talk to me. He wanted to sort things out, but I wasn't even there. So he did show up at the house and he was saying he was going to kill himself and do whatever he was going to do at that time. And then he realized I wasn't at the house. So then he had court that day from what happened on Saturday night. Well, then Monday, when he went to court, he actually got arrested because he wasn't supposed to have any contact with me.
And not only that, because that was just so scary because everyone knew, the cops knew, everyone knew he was dangerous, but trying to get him in jail and you safe was very, very challenging. So it was actually, he tried to get a weapon and he lied on his weapon application. And that is actually how he ended up getting arrested for that. Is that correct, Erica? That was the thing that kept him in jail?
Yeah, and plus, like, we had a no order, like a no contact order between me and him showing up at the house and like threatening me and sending all this stuff through email and calling me 120 times that night and threatening other people. That's what got him arrested.
I see.
But then it followed with the federal was coming after him as well because with the restraining order, he was trying to buy a gun. Mm-hmm. And it kind of correlated when he was trying to get this gun, it correlated because me and him were in very high tension during the time when he was trying to get this gun. So it all kind of lined up with his intentions.
Yeah. So it could have ended with a very different scenario. And thankfully, he's been in jail. So, yeah. So
it's time to change the way you see yourself from God's perspective. Click the link below to get free affirmations and printable affirmations to support you in your Live Brighter journey.
Wow. How did this situation affect you mentally, physically, all of that? And how about your children?
Gosh, I look back and yeah, I mean, whenever you're under a lot of distress in your life, I mean, it comes out in different ways. And gosh, and I do contribute. So my appendix went out, as you know, Tara, and it was around the same time because when he had got out of jail, because he had got out like a year and a half ago, he served his time in federal, he got out, and he wasn't even out for 2 days. And he went to the bar and held up the bar and he was threatening people to kill him. He was telling the cops he was going to kill them and their kids and wife. He was coming after them and that he's part of gangs. And it was so stressful. And shortly after, because I couldn't even believe the person that you married and loved, and you're seeing him go through this extreme, I don't even know, extreme life challenge on drugs. It's very hard to accept. And I felt very shameful of even what happened prior to all of this. Shortly after my appendix went out. I mean, I'm not totally correlating it with that, but he put me under so much stress. I felt like it contributed to it because I'm a overly healthy person. And then I started having a lot of teeth issues too. But they say like your trauma can be stored in your teeth, which is very interesting. And so as far as complications and gosh, I've learned a lot about if you're not in a healthy relationship, it literally affects mentally, physically, emotionally. And then I decided what can I do to heal myself? What can I do to get me and the kids on track? And that's when I started my healing process and really talking to the kids and letting them process. And, they went through their own way of how they dealt with it, whether it was I feel like my oldest son was angry at him because that's dad. And now look at, he wasn't a role model to Tayson. And Kane has so much love for dad. He's like, where's daddy? Is he coming back? I hope dad's okay. And then Lexa, she was this she's just hoping he gets better. So so with me talking to them a lot, I feel like they just we've learned the art of forgiveness and working through like how can we become better, and still holding up like us praying for him that he sees the light and works out his own mental mess. So yeah, that's kind of.
Yeah, I have to say, just watching you through all of this, Erica, like who would have guessed, our friendship that started with me meeting Josh, would go through all of that. And just to see how you have dealt with it is really been amazing, because you really chose a high vibe, a learning, like really immersed yourself in the healing and understanding all of that. And I just thought that was amazing. Do you have some more things, like how did you learn to thrive after the situation and what you learned from the situation?
Yeah, what I've learned is you really need to trust yourself. Like even in our marriage, I was very headstrong. I just didn't let him walk all over me, and that's why it was a toxic relationship, because I would stand up for myself. I mean, I'm like, you're not going to call me a whore. You're not going to say I'm trash. You're not going to say I'm this. Like, I'm going to like stand up for myself. And he did not like that. That's where we butted heads. And then when I started changing how I did things, because that's what he wanted. He wanted a reaction. He wanted me to get mad. And it was just like fighting. I mean, our fights were sometimes a couple hours at a time, and just intense yelling, like craziness. And I just couldn't even barely do it anymore. I was just tired. When you're fighting, like you're just wasting energy, and energy that is not healthy for you. And so I decided, like, let him yell, let him have his fit. And I'm just going to sit there and take it. Like, because I didn't really, like, I know I'm not a whore. I know I'm not trashy. I know I'm not, so I won't even say everything he said, but I knew I wasn't those things. So it didn't affect me like how he wanted it to, even though I wanted to fight back with him, because I'm like, you're not going to get away with this, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I stopped, how do I say it? Feeding into his BS that he was saying to me, that's when he started getting more pissed, because he wasn't getting that reaction out of me. And I think that's what kind of drove him over the edge, because I'm like, it's not, I just sat there and took it. And I'm like, I'm just leaving you. Like, I'm going to get out of this. And that was my main goal, is to get out of it, to get me and the kids out of it safe. And it really goes back to your mindset. Mindset is everything. And all the wisdom and knowledge that I got from that relationship has helped me grow into who I want to be, and staying in a high vibration. Like he was I talk a lot about frequency, and that's kind of when I started to learn like what kind of person he was. Like, he's a very low vibe person, even though we had a lot of fun, but his frequency was up and down. Like, he'd be yelling and calling names, but then he could go way up into like a loving vibration. Was it loving? I don't know. And I'm always, so I've learned even the vibrational aspect. Like, if you're with a low vibrational person and you're a high vibing person, like, it's not an energy match, because there's like a disconnect from energy. And so I've really learned about like who I want to be even more. Like, I'm very heart-centered, even more so. Like, that's my main focus right now, is working on being heart-centered, having more compassion, be kind. Did I say that I work at Macy's? And, people are hurting right now more than ever. in whatever their situation is. And, sometimes people don't know how to take me because I'm so happy, and I just, ask them how their day was. It's amazing how people respond to that. Some people don't like it or know how to take it. And then there's other people are like, oh my God, they're very appreciative because they're like, not everybody's like that. There's a lot of people suffering nowadays. And I think if you can be the light into someone else's world, like it just helps them know that there are good people out there and how they can change their mindset and get in, like when you're in a high vibration, you can heal people on a subconscious level without them even knowing it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, that's been really neat because I've seen you in action as far as how you talk to friends or hurting people. And there's just an awareness of what they're really going through and a kind of a cut through the BS with like love and compassion, but clarity. And so I'm super excited about your coaching business and how you're going to help people. And, just through the experience you've been through, it's amazing, like thinking back how much you've grown through that. And how like your kids are all emotionally very healthy and mentally very healthy, and how you created a space for them to be able to process all of that. So I just think it's really amazing. Like I would have never guessed, that, Eric and I's friendship, that because Josh was very normal when we first met, never would have guessed that it was a life-threatening situation that could have led to your demise. And so I'm just super, super grateful. And I'm amazed at how you're going to impact the world because of it.
Yes, with your help too, Tara, because we kind of went through it together, and then like something so traumatic ended up being something so, like a blessing in disguise. And that's how you have to look at it. Like some people might hold anger towards, I went through anger with him. And then the ultimate level of love, I would say, is forgiveness. And, do I still think about him? Yeah. He comes to my mind, you know what I mean? Like I still have care for him because I don't want him. You hear a lot of people complain about their exes or this or that. And it's like, where is that going to, you're going to attract more of that. So I believe in like the manifestation, like be who you want to be. And that's what you're going to attract.
That's a great place to leave us. Be who you want to be. And that is what you're going to attract. That's awesome,
Yeah.
Erica. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you sharing your story.
Yeah. Thank you, Tara.